following program contains explicit calls to political action. If you are addicted to the tax-exempt status, Randall might not be right for you. Check with your little sister.
You are God, we praise you. You are the Lord, we acclaim you. You are the eternal Father, all creation worships you. To you, all angels, all the powers of heaven, cherubim and seraphim, sing in endless praise.
Standing for truth in the four corners of America. Fighting for justice on the frontiers of the culture wars. And turning resistance into an art form. Randall Terry.
Hello, friends. Obama is beating the wars of drum against Syria, but his support is evaporating. Congress is starting to say, we're not so sure. We're going to talk about it, and we've got a big announcement regarding our own website. It is cool. But first, a word from that really cool lady. Who would not want her to have her as a grandma?
It's time now for Down Home with Granny Jihad.
Allah takrapa! Children, listen to Quran as it teaches us about jihad. Fight in the cause of Allah those who fight you. Slay them wherever you find them, because idolatry is worse than carnage. Fight against them until idolatry is no more and Allah's religion reigns supreme. Now, children, run along. Get your sword.
Welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen. President Obama is pressing his case at home and abroad that the United States has an ethical obligation to intervene in Syria with bombings. So, let's make this perfectly clear. At this point, we are not, I repeat, not talking about putting boots on the ground, soldiers on the ground. We are also, according to President Obama and Secretary of State Kerry, we are not pursuing regime change. We're not trying to topple the Assad government and install a Muslim Brotherhood government or some coalition of the Muslim rebels that are trying to take down the current Shiite government. We are also not talking, according to White House officials, we are not talking about trying to kill Assad. So what are we doing? Well, it appears that we're trying to do two things. Number one, level the playing field a little bit. Somebody on board John Kerry's plane said that this war is going to go on after we do an airstrike. It is going to grind on and on, perhaps for years. All right? So there's an acknowledgement from our government that we're not even trying to pursue a speedy end to the conflict. What we are trying to do, and here's where it gets just a little dastardly, we are trying to send a message to Syria, Iran, and Hezbollah, the terrorist group that is armed by the Iranians through the Syrians. This is also about sending a message to North Korea. Some people say it's about sending a message to China. And what is that message? The message is twofold. One is that the United States government will not tolerate the use of chemical weapons. All right. But number two, and here's where it gets, as I said, a little dastardly. We want to send a message that if our president says, here is a line, don't cross it, and then someone crosses the line, that we will punish the perpetrator. In other words, we are on the edge of using lethal force against heaven only knows how many military personnel as well as civilians, okay, because men, women, and children are killed by these airstrikes. We are on the verge of getting into this war for the sake of Obama's image. Now, I, as a matter of record, despise this presidency. I believe that President Barack Hussein Obama is the worst president that we have had in the history of the nation. And that's a tall order because we've had some bad presidents. But if he was making the right decision here, I would support him. I mean, after all, a broken clock is right twice a day. And if he was getting it right in this situation, I would say he's doing the right thing. I really would. Because I believe in just war. I believe in wars of retribution. I believe that there is a time when a nation's military can and should punish the wicked. But friend, let me say it clearly. This is not that time. This is not that time. Yes, the Assad government is made up of Islamic thugs and criminals. And yes, the rebel forces made up of al-Nusra and the Muslim Brotherhood and members of Al-Qaeda, they're a bunch of Muslim thugs. So part of the elements that are required in the just war theory is that you are fighting for the side of the right and you're fighting against the side of the wrong, all right? Just war means there's justice being pursued. What is the justice that is being pursued here? It's to restore a little bit of fear of President Obama, a little bit of honor for the U.S. presidency. That doesn't sound like a good foundation for just war to me. And what could be the repercussions down the road regarding Israel, Russia? We could find ourselves stumbling into World War III, just like people stumbled into World War I. End of the matter for me is we have no business going there at any level. President Obama, stay out. Every day in America, over 3,500 babies are torn apart by abortion. Shouldn't all babies, like this living, unborn child, have the right to life? Baby killing will only end when Americans see the truth of what abortion does to innocent children. You can help end this Holocaust by showing the truth of abortion in your area with a Face the Truth tour. Go to FaceTheTruthAmerica.com to set up a Face the Truth tour in your area. The babies and their mothers will be eternally grateful. How would you like to be able to reach hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of potential customers with your product or your company or your web-based business? Well, you can do that right here on this show. Every single day, we get phone calls or letters or orders online from states all over the country where people are watching this television show. Right now, we are seen in 45 cities at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time every night, and then a rerun again at 12:30 midnight. You can reach them using this show at advertising rates that are so inexpensive, it would blow your mind. So, if you're interested, contact us at the phone number that you see on the screen or the email address, and we can talk about how you can grow your business and help support this show. Welcome back, friend. President Obama is going with his political hat in hand to the U.S. House of Representatives and to the U.S. Senate, asking them to authorize him or in some way affirm him in his desire to launch airstrikes against Syria. Well, the news is not at all good thus far for the president. It appears that there simply will not be enough votes in the House. It also appears that there might be a filibuster in the Senate and perhaps a complete defeat in the Senate. Now, The British news magazine, The Economist, which is a very prestigious news magazine, on par with Time and Newsweek, and frankly, probably a little bit better written and researched. The Economist is saying that Congress would make a fatal error in not supporting the president in his desire to launch airstrikes against Syria. And of course, the reason that they're giving is what we're hearing from the Obama camp, namely that bad guys in the world need to fear when the United States president says, don't do this or you're going to get in trouble. All right? The problem is this. We are a constitutional republic, sort of a democracy. We have representative government. The president is not a dictator. He is a commander-in-chief. And according to our Constitution, it is only the Congress that can declare war. So, with that little aside, these congressmen want to get reelected. And right now, the latest polling data shows that over 6 in 10 Americans, the latest figure is 63% of Americans, are opposed, repeat, opposed to any military action whatsoever in Syria, and that most Americans do not see any United States interest in attacking Syria. Only 28% of those polled said, yes, we should go in and do something, and 9% are undecided. What's very interesting about this poll is that in a 1 week period, Obama's numbers of support have slipped by over 10%. That's right. Only a week or 10 days ago, about half of Americans were opposed to going, and a lot more than are currently in favor were in favor. Support for any military intervention in Syria is starting to plummet. When you have over a 10-point drop in a 1 week period, that is a political disaster. And the congressmen who are going to be called upon to vote probably in the week of September 16th, they're saying, look, we have to face our constituents. We have to face our voters. And we would prefer to be reelected. So we're not going to allow ourselves to be hung on your petard. We're not going to jeopardize our future with our voters so that you, Mr. Obama, can try and restore some of your tarnished name. Now, to complicate matters, Assad of Syria is saying, we haven't done this. Yes, he says you can see that there's clearly people that have been hurt by a chemical weapon, but our soldiers are the ones that were sent to hospitals, and our satellite imagery shows that it was that the launch originated from an area controlled by the rebels. Whether or not that's true, I have no way of knowing. But the interview that he did with Charlie Rose on CBS was really, really good for him, because he said, look, Colin Powell stood up and said, here's our evidence. Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction. Here's our evidence. And he said, and you people went to war against Iraq and you didn't have evidence. And now John Kerry isn't even presenting evidence. Said he's got accusations, he's got convictions, but no evidence. Make matters just a little bit worse. Russia has said, if we launch missiles against Syria, that they will continue to support Syria. So let's do the math. We attack Syria. Russia continues to help Syria. Iran makes good on its threat to attack Israel if Syria is attacked, and Hezbollah makes good on its threat to launch thousands of missiles into Israel if America launches missiles into Syria. Can anyone see that this is just probably not a good idea? Yes, it's horrifying what's going on over there, horrifying. But sometimes we don't have the right and the responsibility to intervene. And it appears to me this is one of those times. Do you want to have knowledge, wisdom, discernment? If so, you have to read good books on theology, history, books that look at the lives of great men and women. So to help you to become a more effective Christian, a better witness for truth, somebody who can engage in productive conversation that exhorts and edifies those that you speak with, we're going to do something crazy. We're offering you these 7 books for a gift of any size. You just pay for the shipping and handling, and then give whatever gift that you can, and we will send them to you. But just to make it a little bit more crazy, I will send you a second copy of my 3 books, autographed. You can give them as a gift to your pastor or to a family member and help extend truth and justice in the world. This is while supplies last. As President Obama continues to beat the drums of war, calling for congressional and international support for bombing Syria, it might behoove us to do a quick history lesson on how World War I got started. Because frankly, I would not want to see, neither would you, World War III start, because we made a wrong turn. In 1914, the heir apparent to the Austrian-Hungarian emperor throne, his name was Ferdinand, Archduke Ferdinand, and his wife Sophie, were in Sarajevo on a parade route, literally. And a very long and convoluted story made short, they took a wrong turn. They literally took a wrong turn, and a terrorist who was a member of the Black Hand, which was a terrorist organization based in Serbia and allegedly armed by the Serbians, he was at the scene when they got stuck, and then Ferdinand ordered the driver to back up, and as he was backing up, the assassin killed him and his wife. Well, the Austrian-Hungarian Empire did not have any love for Serbia, and this was a perfect opportunity for them to go to war with them. The problem is that Serbia had a treaty with Russia. So the Serbians went to the Russians and said, "Remember us, please." The Russians said, "We've got your back." France and England had treaties with Russia. So if Russia went to war, France and England were obligated to go to war. Meanwhile, Germany had a treaty with the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, and they said, if you go to war against Serbia, we will go to war on your behalf. Do the math. A man takes a wrong turn. A terrorist assassinates him. The issue is who's arming these terrorists. And then, before you know it, you have millions of people at each other's throats in trench warfare, a war that claimed millions of lives, and was, by that point, was the bloodiest war probably in the history of the human race. Because of treaties, because of debts of honor. Let's say that we do bomb this country, Syria. Well, why would we do that? Well, maybe they've used gas weapons against their people. We know that Syria is a gateway for arms from Iran to the terrorist group Hezbollah. Syria is listed by the State Department as a state sponsor of terrorism. There's only a handful of them in the whole world that are actually state sponsors of terrorism. So America says, we're going to bomb Syria. Syria, like Serbia almost 100 years ago, has a treaty with Russia. Syria is also backed by Iran. Iran and Hezbollah have missiles pointed at Israel. Do you see that with a few miscalculated steps, we could be in a situation where the strings that connect Syria to some nations and the strings that connect the United States to other nations could cause a conflagration, an outpouring of arms and the shedding of blood that, God forbid, actually led to World War III. Because if the Iranians do possess nuclear weapons, and they do decide that they are going to launch a serious attack against Israel, and the Russians say that they are going to defend Syria, and the Russians also have interests with Iran, and the Russians have no long love affair with Israel, do you see how this could get out of hand really quickly? Do your own research on World War I and pray that Obama's plans to shoot missiles into Syria get shot down before we find ourselves in a bloodbath that is completely out of our control. Do you want to get America out of the hands of wicked and unjust men and women who are destroying the republic before our eyes, and put leadership back into the hands of righteous men and women so that we don't die as a nation? Well, you're talking about social revolution, and there are rules in social revolution. We can look at the victorious social revolutions of the past, such as the end of slavery, the end of child labor, women's voting rights, the end of segregation, and so much more, and learn from their victories. Look at their actions, their images, their rhetoric, their sacrifices, and their final fruit. We will send you this series that originally cost $129, 7 books for students, 1 teacher's guide, if you'll give a gift of any size and just pay for shipping and handling. Take advantage of it today. Hello again, friend. We have some really exciting news in-house that I want to share with you. We have launched our new website, voiceofresistance.com. And I am here to tell you I am so excited. I am so thankful for the incredible work that Lane has put into this. What's on that website, Randall? I'm glad you asked. Every television show we've ever done, every book I've ever written, training sessions, seminars that people have literally come to from all over America and sometimes from around the world. We filmed them, and we're making all of them available to anybody who wants to partner with us. That includes you. So, how much is it? It's $5 a month. Now, just think with me for a minute, because off the air we were talking about, this is so inexpensive it almost insults what we have. We have 2 reasons that we're doing this. 2. Number 1 is to get this material out to as many Americans and people around the world as humanly possible. Do you want to know about the history of social revolution? We have a seminar. Do you want to understand how Christianity is applied to politics and the judiciary and education and commerce and business? We've got a 23-part seminar dealing with it. Do you want to know why Muslims do the things they do, whether it's terrorist acts or how they govern under Sharia law? We have a series called What Would Muhammad Do? Do you want to understand the Muslim Brotherhood? We have a series on the history, the origins of the Muslim Brotherhood. And as I said earlier, all of my books are available in PDF format right now for $5 a month. Now, if you stop and think about the last time you went to a seminar, okay, the Starbucks coffee and the scones that you ate during the morning break cost you more than $5. The bag lunch that you got at Burger King or McDonald's cost you more than $5. Not to mention the hundreds of dollars you might have paid to get a ticket or to drive and to get a hotel and to pay the conference registration fee, all that. And we've held conferences where we've charged people hundreds of dollars, okay? And we filmed them. And I decided, you know what? The material needs to get out to as many people as possible. And there's a lot of people who can't afford an airline ticket to travel hundreds of miles. They can't afford to spend hundreds of dollars to go and get this learning. But most people right now can afford $5 a month. So if you become a partner with the show for $5 a month, you have access to all of it, anytime you want, any seminar, anything that interests you, and an internal search engine that can bring up one show after another covering multiple years of broadcasts. The second reason we're doing this is far less important, and it's simply to help pay the freight. I mean, at $5 a month, we're not paying for much, but it helps. So if you believe in this show, by all means, and you say, well, I'd like to become a partner, I'll partner with you for $10 or $25 a month. Feel free. But for $5 a month, anybody can have full access to everything that we have created. And our goal is to make you a deadly force, well, maybe not deadly, a righteous force in the hands of God for righteousness and justice in the earth. Join today.
you.